Hi, everyone. Welcome back if you were at our earlier session. If this is your first session of the day, thank you so much for attending and taking time out of your schedules to be here. So I'm really excited. We have two awesome presentations today, one from Todd from Kleinfelder and then the other from Dave from Tetra Tech. So to start off today's session, please welcome Todd and his presentation on the solution that Kleinfelder has built.
Barry, can you see my screen still?
I can. And one last thing, if anyone has questions, Todd will be answering them after his presentation. And we can see your screen perfectly.
Okay, thank you. So first off, Kleinfelder would like to thank Zerion team for allowing us to present the solution using iFormBuilder. Today I'll be presenting iFormBuilder to CMIS, implementation to integration. Let me introduce myself. I'm Todd McKinney, an IT business analyst for Kleinfelder, and in my role, I work on several support and development teams. Also, I'm an IT liaison to the business. I've been working with iFormBuilder for about 10 years. My background demonstrates my understanding of what the engineering community is expecting. Been in the engineering industry for 30 years, done engineering inspections, lab management, land surveying, exploratory drilling, CAD design, engineering analysis. And with my background knowledge, it allows me to understand both sides of the system. So I understand engineering, I understand IT, so I speak more than IT. So let's define CMIS. CMIS is a construction management information system. CMIS is a collaboration of applications and tools used to collect and host vast amounts of construction data. This can range from reports, photos, to purchase orders. So let's review the ask from the business. Our construction management teams have a heavy tracking component with a need to quickly organize large amounts of data coming in from project sites daily. We have timelines. Timelines are very important because it can involve start and end times, project phases, and most importantly, payments. Data tracking. This can include project quantities, contractor hours, to site activities. File management. How do we manage all the files that are produced, either by on-site staff, office staff, or even clients? We needed to come up with a single location. The clients and project managers wanted one location to access the data files. And a management interface. We needed to provide a management interface that was intuitive to end users. So the solution. Here's some solution considerations. We considered out-of-the-box solutions, which many are readily available, but we opted to use our custom development solutions to provide a dynamic tool that could adjust based on client and project needs. Using our already in-place support teams, we could provide quicker, more in-depth support to project teams. The internal solution was CMIS. CMIS, developed by Kleinfelder Custom Development Team, provided a solution that utilizes a single data collection source, iFormBuilder. Data collected by field teams on sites filters back to integrate with SQL Server, SharePoint, and Power BI for efficient and proactive data compilation. Information housing. SharePoint sites house the necessary client and project files and also allows for a single place for office and project management staff to interact with field data. Data collected through daily fields iForm submissions compiles in SQL Server and displayed through Power BI dashboards. Comparing data collected to contract and project expectations. Our solution also included formatted reports that are able to be reviewed by the project team and clients. So the result, we came up with a consistent field data collection system tool. This was pretty easy. It was iFormBuilder. Highly customizable solution. We're able to review projects with the project team and customize to what they require. We could provide near real-time data from the project team on site as well as the office. We were able to create interactive dashboards using Power BI. And we could give status tracking and reporting system. So let's look at the integration component puzzle. First piece was collaboration with IT teams and the business to understand the ask and understand exactly the expectations. The next piece was easy. How do we capture field data? iFormBuilder. The next is how, now that we have the data, we can integrate the data with Power BI. Oops. We can integrate with Power BI. We have data tables, and we have SharePoint. With these integration, it allows us to collaborate with the office staff, field staff, and clients. Building out the CMIS solution allowed Kleinfelder to take the data and produce reports, host project photos, and capture spatial data. Once again, data tables. The last piece leaves an open-ended element to the puzzle. What's next? What can we use the data to expose? So the integration solutions, most of us are familiar with looking at the iFormBuilder forms. In this image, you'll see that we use several different elements. We use lookup list, we use dates, we capture weather. We built in several subforms that allow us to capture many records within one report. We can do signatures, and we can do review elements. We have custom smart tables that we've developed that allow the office staff to go into these systems and update data quantities, and they don't have to interact, or there's little interaction with IT. So it's all self-serve. We use public links within this project for the contractor that is not a Kleinfelder employee. They could use the QR code to scan. It opens up a form on their phones, and they can enter in their name, their company name, what tasks that they're doing on the site, and log their start and end times. So in the reports, this is kind of a compilation of different elements that we're pulling in from iFormBuilder to put into reports. So you see we have project information, we have weather information, traffic, the information about the contractor that we're doing database joins provided by the public links. The activity information allows us to put in the activities, it grabs the quantities, and sends all that information back to our databases, and we can take photos and we can capture spatial information about the site work. These reports then come back to a SharePoint site that allows us to embed a Power BI. We know information about the site. We know who the managers are on site, and we have the quick links that allow us to look at all the different documentation captured for the project. So here's an example of the dashboard that we built using Power BI. As you can see, we have several gauges that are interactive based on the quantities and information that are supplied by the field. We can look at different elements within the tables. We know where we're at with schedules and statuses. We know if we have overages or underages on the quantities of materials on site. We can look at spatial data with metadata. So let's talk about the unforeseen. Nothing's perfect. We understand that. This all looks great. We've built a lot of integrations in here, but we know that there are different elements that are unforeseen, such as vendor options. We've engaged with project teams that wanted to use CMIS, and after more research, the project had requirements to use the out-of-box solutions, so we couldn't use our system, which is fine. We understand that. Change management. Staff are typically coming to us that are still using paper reports, photos on several devices, and then all of this stuff has to be hand typed, put into a nice formatted report to send to the client. With CMIS, we can develop the reports, we can develop the photo templates, and everything comes out formatted in a consistent manner to provide to the client that's very reproducible. Data quality. We still experience data quality issues no matter how you try to control the system. It's going to happen. Training. So looking at the items above, the data quality, the data management, the vendor options, we always try to engage with the project teams or even sometimes the clients to talk about the project expectations and go over any questions that the teams may have before they go to the site or while they're on site. We're always there for them. Client specifications. We've built several project sites, and then we're informed that the client required something special. For best example, naming conventions. We're able to address a naming convention using elements and parameters within iFormBuilder. So now we come to question and answer.
Well, thank you so much, Todd. We did have a few questions coming in. One was about the data quality. Can you dig a little deeper into that? Was there anything specific that you can share with that? And yeah.
I would say with data quality, one of the things that we run into is how people are entering the data, different formats. We know that some projects require certain elements in iFormBuilder to be required, and some of them you have to leave as unrequired because you need that flexibility across sites. But that does cause issues in the quality because you can't set, say, like a select box that already has prescribed elements that you want somebody to fill out versus somebody may come in and they start typing a lot of information that realistically could have been more of a select.
Great. Well, I'll see if there's a follow-up with that after that response, but I think that's helpful. Another question came in and was just in regards to your end users. Primarily, do your end users just use the iForm app, or do you find that some people will use the app and then some of the other pieces of the solution?
It depends on the project. Some of the field staff will basically just be using the iForm element of the system, but we do have project managers that are on site that will want to know a little bit more about what's going on with the site, that will want to go into the dashboards and see where they're at on quantities and project schedules. So project managers may be on site, but they're more engaged with what's going on with the entire process.
All right, thank you. And then so far, there's one more question. Maybe more will come in. But this next question is just as far as building out your solution. If you had to think of one piece of the solution, whether it's the integration, it's building out the forms, it's the API, it's the Microsoft side, what would be like a one lesson learned that you had with this, or maybe two lessons if there was more than one, but the biggest ones?
I would say probably always the biggest lesson learned on things are really engaging with the teams and understanding what they're trying to produce, what their end goal is. As I said, there were times where we started looking at the CMIS, we've engaged, we started loading things within our data tables, and come to find out it really was not what the project expected. It may have been a little bit more than what they needed. In reality, they probably could just use more of a narrative report. So I would say it's always good to work with the entire project team, not just a subset.
Great. I think that's definitely a lesson we've learned too on our side when it comes to projects. But well, thank you very much. As far as right now, there aren't any other questions. Maybe after the other presentation, there might be some more. But if everyone can give Todd a nice little round of applause virtually, I think you did a great job, and I really appreciate the time and effort you took to go through that all with us today.
Thank you, Barrett. Thank you, Zerion team.
All right, next up we have Dave, and let me give him presenter rights. So everyone just bear with me for 1 second here. Okay, so Dave, we can see your screen. Perfect. We can see the screen where it is showing big, and then the next slide section as well.
Oh, gotcha. Let me try to switch my screen then. Or better yet, I'll switch the, there we go. Are you seeing just the slide now?
Yep, we can. Perfect.
Perfect.
All right, well, thank you. Again, everyone, this is Dave. Dave's part of the Tetra Tech team and has been working with iFormBuilder and Zerion for almost as long as Todd, and have been very successful with what he's done and the team's done at Tetra Tech. And so I'm really excited for him to share his solution as well. So with that, Dave, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Barrett. Appreciate the opportunity to share with everybody the partnership that we've established with Zerion and all the different tools that they have to offer and how we utilize them in various aspects of our company. So we'll start off with a little bit about me. So I'm a database administrator with Tetra Tech. I've been with Tetra Tech for about 14 years. It's my first big kid job out of school. I've been here for pretty much my entire career. I'm also an Army Reserve engineer officer. I've been in the Army for about 8 years now. I've been utilizing iFormBuilder for nearly 10 years on a very wide range of projects. I started with using iForm in landfill gas collection and control system monitoring, and then branched out into wildfire disaster response, infrastructure inspections, and then industrial inspections and monitoring. Some of my professional interests are supporting large teams and standardizing and harmonizing the data and observations that are collected by those teams. iFormBuilder is a great asset for that because it allows us to expand into, it allows us to scale to those teams very quickly. And I really enjoy helping to take that information from those teams and produce reliable information that helps to drive decision making. So again, iFormBuilder plays right into that aspect of it as well. So my personal interests are, I like spending time with my family. I really enjoy Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I started roasting coffee a couple of years ago and doing anything that involves physical fitness. So a little bit about Tetra Tech. As a company, we are 28,000 staff across the globe and working in more than 100 countries. In a single day at Tetra Tech, I've been able to touch projects on multiple continents, and regularly throughout my weeks, I'll have multiple days where I work across the continental United States, just touching the data from different projects that are going on. So I never get to leave my office, but I touch projects across the country. It's a pretty fun environment to be in. Our client base is extremely diverse. Currently in my role, those clients range from the EPA to FEMA, the DoD, real estate developers, oil and gas companies, and landfills. So there's a wide range of things to support. Tetra Tech's mission is to be the premier worldwide consulting and engineering firm focusing on water, environment, sustainable infrastructure, renewable energy, and international development. So it's a pretty lofty goal, and I love that we get to have that opportunity here to leverage our people and our tools, one of those being iFormBuilder, to achieve that goal. The other thing is, one of our catchphrases here at Tetra Tech is that we lead with science. And you can't have science without good data and observations. So our partnership with Zerion helps us to achieve that goal as well. So now I'll take you through a few different ways that we have leveraged the Zerion software tools to different solutions here at Tetra Tech. We have this diagram displays the standard playbook that at least my operating unit utilizes. Again, having 28,000 people across the company, there's a pretty wide range of ways we can implement the different software that's available. I know other operating units have also leveraged iFormBuilder, Dataflow, and similar workflows to what we have, but they're very wide branching. So this is just kind of our standard playbook that we end up utilizing to start with, and then build a couple variations on the theme. So I'll go through those details as well. But as you can see, we have on the left side of the diagram, we have our construction worker out in the field. He logs into the TetraForms app. We have white labeled the iFormBuilder app to TetraForms just to make it a little bit easier for our field staff. From there, they capture their information. Often that information ends up in multiple different endpoints. Typically, the two most common are SQL Server and SharePoint, where we're generating a document off of that using FormStack. And then leveraging the Microsoft suite, we put the data into Power BI. Sometimes we use ArcGIS, where we end up, depending on the client need, we can put data there, or Smartsheet, or various ending repositories. So one of the phrases that we use when describing iForm to new users is that it can be an inch deep and a mile wide if you need it to be, and it can go as deep and as complex as you need it also. So it's a great tool for that. So the first case study I'll go through is our wildfire disaster response. Some of the major challenges that we faced were due to the size of the responses. We had dozens of staff out in the field across a very wide geographic area. We had very specific requirements from our clients in terms of the format of some of the documents that were required, and the level of detail needed for each type of inspection on the properties could vary from wildfire to wildfire. So we were able to use the same forms, often the same forms, in send that data to our different endpoints to eliminate, to deliver the appropriate document format to our clients. So we'll go through some of the deeper details on that on the next slide. So again, we developed each form in iFormBuilder for the different inspection teams, and then created document deliveries in FormStack to allow the data to generate the documents as soon as our quality control process was completed. This resulted in near real-time delivery of the inspections and reports to our internal project managers. You can see here the field staff is submitting the form. It goes to iFormBuilder and then ends up landing in a SharePoint site for them to review. And then while this information was being used to generate individual documents, we were also creating a parallel workflow where the data was sent to SQL Server so that it could be leveraged for internal dashboards and synchronization of the records in Smartsheet, which was our client's chosen data repository. So the next case study we'll go through is housing inspections and repairs. This challenge was a little bit unique because we oftentimes use iFormBuilder strictly as an internal tool within Tetra Tech, but in this case we were leveraging it with multiple organizations outside of Tetra Tech that were also hired by the same client. So there was a substantial amount of coordination that we had to facilitate in order to achieve the objectives for the client. iForm was a great tool for that because we were able to quickly spin up all those users that were necessary. Also, because of the nature of the buildings that were inspected, there was often not cell phone reception. So having the reliable offline data capture capability was a huge advantage for us. And in this particular case, we had very dynamic workflows where there were many loops involved with capturing the data. The loops were based on a lot of the client or the other input from the various parties that we were interacting with. So we had inspectors going out to verify some things that were completed by a repair contractor, and depending on the results of those inspections, it may need to go back to the repair team to do some additional work. So we used a lot more data flow here in order to facilitate that. So in this solution, again, we had multiple contractors outside of Tetra Tech. All of the data, once it was captured, ended up in SQL Server. This helped us to provide a common operating picture for all of the stakeholders involved. So all of the managers for the repair team, our field team managers, as well as some of the inspectors were able to get access to our Power BI reports and see everything as it was going on in the field. Again, we leveraged data flow for some of the specific business process automation in this case. Again, it was a lot of those loops that happened. So if a repair team went out, the inspectors then needed to know that they could go schedule their inspection. And if the inspection came back poor, we had to kick that inspect that property back to the repair team to make the necessary repairs and vice versa. So there was a lot of coordination going on. Some of the inspections we also took as a bulk upload from the regulatory authority that was involved in this too. And I have a picture of one of the dashboards that we were leveraging. We wanted to see a timeline as well. So there was just a lot happening in this project. And without iForm, I'm not sure how we would have facilitated that. And the third case study, we did some inspections on seawall infrastructure evaluation. Similar to the housing inspections, we had multiple contractors. In this case, we only had one client, so that was good. But the unique challenge here was that in addition to having multiple contractors involved, we also had a dive team. So we had a surface water inspection going on while there was a team underwater performing an inspection, and as well as a team on the land. So we had to develop an inspection form for each one of the different inspector roles, including the underwater team. We did coordinate between the oops, my graphics went away. We did coordinate with the water side team, like the surface team, to capture some of the information collected by the dive team. So this way we didn't have to have special underwater tablets or anything like that they were going to interact with. We weren't sure how that would really go. So the surface team submitted both their above the water inspection as well as the underwater team, just with radio communications to enter the data. Again, the data, once captured, went into our SQL Server database for the reporting. And in this case, we leveraged Power BI Report Builder to generate the reports and provide information to the client. We conducted a total of more than 500 inspections on this particular project, capturing more than 2,100 photos at 191 separate geographic locations along the seawall. So some future developments that are happening that we are excited about is iFormBuilder. AI is a Tetra Tech initiative, and we're looking forward to the efficiency that can be leveraged from the iFormBuilder tools that are coming out. We're excited to learn more about how AI will enhance the experience of our field staff in collecting their data and observations, and ultimately drive more decision making. So if anybody has any questions for me.
Hi, Dave. Thank you so much. I think this was awesome. I loved how you went through those different cases and showcased how you were able to build out those solutions. So far, we have about 2 questions that have come in, and I'll see if any others come in while we're going through these. So the first one is, if you were to try to guess, how many people do you have in-house who are building forms, and how many people are building the data flows?
Ooh, in-house form builders, I want to say at least 10 that I interact with somewhat regularly. I don't know them all, but I usually am involved with like kind of spinning them up on a quick introduction. Like usually I spend about half an hour with them if they have any questions, and we kind of maintain a relationship going forward after that. For data flow, there's only like two of us that are heavy users of data flow, but for the no, that's not true. There's 4.
Great. And with that, how do you try to share about iFormBuilder with the company being so large? I mean, how do you make sure everyone knows that this is a tool that's available?
So on our intranet, we have a page dedicated to the Tetra Forms application and some of the tools that are there. We also, in some of the internal Tetra Tech webinars, we often do presentations about some similar presentations to what we just went through, where we demonstrate a particular workflow and how we were able to leverage the different tools to provide a unique solution. So we do a lot of internal sharing and webinars very similar to this one.
Great. And there are some more questions coming in. Another one that came in was about how do you manage the form design consistency across the organization?
So in this case, we don't actually have to manage the consistency. As such a large organization, we're broken into separate operating units, and so that each unit, because we have such a diverse set of clients, we kind of run somewhat autonomously inside of that unit. So, like I will very heavily influence the design of the forms for my unit, but that may not meet the need for a different unit, so they kind of had to have their own set. And we have separate boxes where all of these forms end up going into in separate profiles. So it's not really a need to manage the consistency across the board.
Great, thank you. Because I know that for some folks, they have that challenge, or they think it's a challenge. But here you're saying, well, in our case, it wasn't a challenge at all. So
yeah, it's actually an asset to be able to not have a standard, because not one size fits all. But that's the great thing about the Tetra Forms or iFormBuilder application, is that you can use the same application but build it to suit your specific need, and you can make it fit the mold that's required for each unique challenge.
I agree. So we do have quite a few more questions coming in. Another one is about the white label. Can you share how do you share the white label with the external contractors and subcontractors? How do you go about doing that?
In this case, we just provide them with a license with a username and password, and then they're able to log in, and we just manage that license at the close of the project. So once that project wraps up and we have all of our data collected and reporting, there's no additional information going to come in. We just kind of pull the license out of that profile and put it back into use somewhere else.
So I think more of the questions about the white label itself and the deployment of it. I know, let's say you have a new version that comes out. Do you ask the contractors or subcontractors to go to a certain place to download Tetra Forms, or how do you share Tetra Forms with them to get they get it on their device, or do you actually just give them a device with it?
So in some cases, it's both of those. We either provide them with a device that has Tetra Forms on it, or they can download Tetra Forms from Google Play or the App Store. Like if anybody on the call decides to search for Tetra Forms in the App Store, you can see it there.
Perfect. And two more questions. One is, can you talk more about data flow in general, specifically getting your dynamic data into specific users' devices?
So data flow in general, data flow is one of my favorite parts of this whole solution, because it allows you to interact with the data far more. You can transform it, like the ability to transform the data and manipulate it after it's been received by the server is a huge advantage, in my opinion. That's what allows us to then, like, if there are certain conditions met in a record, but we don't necessarily have everything on like baked into the form logic, we can manipulate it after the fact. And then through the use of the iFormBuilder API, we can kick those records back to other users, or at least provide like some form of a filter in the record as like a database, so that they become visible for the different inspectors that we've had on different projects. So think I might have answered that question. I might need you to run it by me again.
No, I think you did.
Okay.
Making, using the transformation in data flow and then also making use of the API to then dispatch those records back to the user.
Yep.
So a question, and then I have a question, and then we have another customer question as well. But the question I have is almost a follow-up about data flow. I think from my perspective and the team's perspective, we love data flow just like you do, because you have that ability to do the transformation. From your perspective, what was the learning curve like to get up and running with data flow?
For me, it was probably a little bit more than somebody who has more software experience. I refer to myself often as a tech-savvy caveman. I come from a field environment and construction, and just happen to be technically inclined. So over the years, I've learned a lot. But to get really comfortable with data flow, Bear, I don't know if you recall the calls with yourself, Aaron, and Orr at the time, but those really helped us to get spun up on how to use the tool. And then if anybody knows, if you already know JavaScript, then that's like most of your battle for data flow. It's easy. It's like it makes it really simple to transform the data and manipulate it after the fact in a more user-friendly way than if you had to develop some kind of an application to pull data out of the SQL Server or something like that. So that's a long-winded answer of it probably took me a couple of months to be really comfortable. And then I'm always learning new ways to use it, because as you learn more stuff about JavaScript and how to manipulate JSON objects, it can become more powerful.
I agree. I mean, I also feel like I'm constantly learning and seeing different use cases, just like with form building, because of the different needs of different customers. You find yourself in different situations, and that's where you're constantly learning. So I'm with you on that. And the last question we have here is just in regards to some of those use cases that you shared with us today, and some of these projects. Is there an average length of these projects, or can some of these be, go years long, where others just go months?
The latter. There's still some of the projects that we think we're almost done with them, and then there's some other reporting requirement that we need, or that our clients have asked us to deliver. So even though the field effort may be completed, we end up interacting with the data long after. But then there's also like some of the, like the inspections of the seawall, for instance. That project only lasted a handful of months because we had a very specific set of inspections. We had teams that were deployed to go complete that work. And then once that was in, we developed the report, provided to the client, and it's completely wrapped up in the course of a few months.
Well, thank you. And as of right now, there are no other questions. I do want to really give a big thanks to you and to Todd for presenting today. And I know I really enjoyed both sessions, and I hope everyone else on the call did as well. Again, big round of applause to Todd and Dave, and thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you later on this afternoon.